Hey everybody, I'm Evan. I'm with Solve.cloud. We help companies automate using Salesforce's Agentforce platform as well as AI platforms generally. So we're a big fan of Salesforce and the Agentforce platform, but there's a lot of ways to adopt AI in an organization. Jumping into, will the AI learn and remember what I tell it? So the primary way this works, and this is very, very high level, so not getting too detailed here. When AI models are created, you may have heard the term trained. They it starts with a ton of data, and it's for the when we're talking about AI like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, these are large language models. So all of this training data is like text data here, and just tons and tons and tons of it that then is fed to a neural net, and that neural net, as the data as it's being trained on that data, it's learning how words fit together, the relationships that words have to each other. And then as you train it on more and more data, it starts to learn, okay, this is kind of how the world works. You can learn from knowing how people talk about things, actually store the information about how those things that they're talking about really work. And then that can be reproduced. And the model essentially is, you ask it a question or have some text that you feed it, and then it's going to output its prediction on what the right thing is to say. And it's going to do that one word at a time. It's going to say, what's the next right word? All right, great. And what's the next right word after that? And then it's kind of going through this looping process of just predicting the next word until you have what looks like an answer. So anybody that's used ChatGPT, it feels very much like you're just chatting with somebody or texting someone that knows a whole lot about most things, but sometimes just lies about it. It doesn't know for sure, just makes something up. And then, so anyways, your users are then going to use typically some kind of a chat interface to talk to these AI models. So the real concern here is when my users, or when I am like chatting with an AI, are my chats getting fed into the training data, where now the training data that trained the AI is getting updated with all the stuff we ever talked about? Is that possible? So the answer is yes. Especially in the early days of ChatGPT, they would keep the chat transcripts, and then have that data, and they own that data. And then the terms and conditions, it says, hey, we can use these chats as further data that we can then feed into our AI models. So that's obviously not good, especially if you're talking about things that shouldn't be shared outside of your organization. If you had one chat with an AI where it remembered those chats and that got into a training data set, and then that company like trained a new model on it, if you had one conversation, is it going to like perfectly remember that information? Probably not. But it's theoretically possible a model could be trained in the future that would have better recall and be able to, remember every single thing it was ever trained on. And then, yeah, theoretically, you could ask it, hey, what's that detail that so-and-so over here at this company disclosed? And then it would just tell you. So you don't want that. That's kind of the primary concern. Well, there's a couple of things, several things that can be done about this. Number one is choose your AI provider carefully. So now, speaking of ChatGPT, there is a setting in ChatGPT. If you open the settings, there's like a little toggle that says make the model better for everyone. And if that is on, they're retaining your chats and pulling them into their training data set to use on later models. If you toggle that off, though, your training data, they still retain a copy of the chats so that you can see like your chat history, and that they can monitor it for, like safety reasons or quality assurance. But they only keep it for, I think, 3 months, the last I checked. And then they promise, basically, as long as that toggle is toggled off, they promise not to keep that for future training data. A couple that I know kind of off the top of my head is Anthropic by default doesn't train on user chats. So if you're using Anthropic's models like Claude, it's not something you have to worry about. Gemini models, they do keep chats unless you're on like a paid plan. it's pretty safe to say at this point, you do want to always, check terms and conditions or check the privacy policies of whoever your AI provider is. And that's the important question to answer is, are you going to use my chats or my users' chats to train future models? You want to make sure that that is off. But yeah, Anthropic by default doesn't train. Gemini by default does. But it's safe to say if you have a paid plan through any of the AI providers, very likely they're not going to train on your data. And then if you're using them through the API applications that you've built or third-party applications that use that AI through some sort of an API, odds are your data is not being retained and trained on. So kind of to recap this one, best way to use AI chatbots and make sure that your training data isn't leaked or used to train future models is just to kind of upgrade to a paid plan, the Plus plan or the Teams plan or the Enterprise plan of these various providers. So not only is that going to keep your chats private, but also there's a lot of tools and cool user interface things that these companies are creating that we won't go into detail today. There's more and more reasons to have those paid plans so you can have it, help you write code or have some of the voice features where it feels more like a voice conversation, that kind of thing. Those are often features that are on the paid tiers. So what else can you do? This one is even safer than the other one. Like I said, these providers typically do retain your chats for quality assurance or whatever. It exists on their servers. The question is it going to make it into the training data set? If you set up a private implementation, you can still use AI without your data ever really leaving your organization. So if you have, there's a couple of providers, and it just kind of depends. Are you a Microsoft shop or Google? You have AWS infrastructure internally, whoever your cloud provider is. Or if you're like an on-prem shop, if you have your own servers, you can there's a lot of open source AI models. So Llama is a good example of open source. China's DeepSeek R1 is also an open source model that you can get. It's a really smart one. It's gotten a lot of press recently. If you use it through DeepSeek, 100% that data is getting retained and used for training data. But if you download the model weights and then run them on, through your cloud provider or on like an on-premise server, there's a way to set it up where you can use it without the data ever leaving to go to another organization. You can kind of keep the whole feedback loop internal. So this is by far the safest way to go, is just to set it up, have an open source model, and then set it up to be used internally. So a couple of services here that can be used for this is Amazon's Bedrock service, and then Google Cloud has an equivalent, and so does Microsoft, where you can kind of spin these up to run internally. So anyways, if you want more details about that, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you set up a private implementation or point you in the right direction. All right, so one more that we'll talk about here is using an AI gateway. So there are services, and I've got Salesforce on here because they're one of them, that can give you access to external AI models like OpenAI's models, the ChatGPT models, but introduce some safety measures above and beyond what they offer out of the box. So specifically, when I'm talking about Salesforce and Agentforce, there's something called the Einstein trust layer. And what that does is your users, maybe they ask a question or something. Let's just use the chat example for now. We'll keep the Salesforce's AI agents out of it for purposes of this conversation. If your users ask a question of AI through Salesforce, it's going to go through the trust layer, meaning any data from Salesforce that they're using or that they're directly typing is going to be scrubbed and sanitized. So essentially, like if they use customer names or account names or something like that, it's going to get masked so that the names get scrambled, turned into just gibberish. And then the AI model can answer. And then on the way back, those names are going to be unscrambled to be, what they were before. So essentially the AI model through the API never even gets the actual names being used. So there's an extra layer of safety there. Also, Salesforce has an agreement with AI providers like OpenAI that OpenAI is not going to retain any data sent through Salesforce. So they're not even going to keep it for quality assurance or anything. It's going to go straight to the AI model. It's going to generate a response. And then it's like it never, according to OpenAI and the data that they've retained, it's like it never came through. Another thing with the Einstein trust layer is on the way back in, there's going to be a toxicity score that's assigned to the output so that you can kind of monitor and make sure that the AI is not coming back with responses that are, inappropriate or toxic in any way. So anyways, a couple of super cool features that you can use through these AI gateways, such as Salesforce's Einstein trust layer. So anyways, just adds another layer of security. And then as well, all of that happens within Salesforce, which is a system your users are already using. It comes with the added benefit then that instead of having to, maybe you do want information about a certain customer that you have, maybe it's a salesperson and they want to understand more about, what's the industry, how might I position our products best. When you use AI through Salesforce, all the data that you have about the customer and about your products and how your products can serve the customer can live in Salesforce, and the AI can have access to that as well. So instead of having to type, hey, I want information about this customer, this is the kind of information I want, these are the products that I provide, this is what they do, typing all this information to give to the AI, your users could say something like, hey, tell me more about this company, or how could I position our products to help this company? And then through Agentforce and some other features within Salesforce, the AI, before that all gets sent off to the AI for processing, Salesforce can pull in the relevant data to send along with your user's question, so they don't have to do all that typing. And so anyways, it can make it really fast to get information and use the information you already have and your data it feels at that point more like AI is part of your organization and knows about your organization and has access to your data to help out without any of that actually being retained or any of the AI actually running within your organization. So it's pretty cool. Some of the benefits that come there. And also, you can have peace of mind using it that way. You may have noticed, I keep calling this a webinar, but there's nobody else here. It's just me today. We are hoping to have more and more people attend. If you want to come to the webinar, feel free. So solve.cloud is our website. And then you sign up for future webinars right there on the website. In which case, this Q&A part is going to get a lot more interesting. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. And then if you want to attend future webinars, more than happy to kind of stay on. So this will be what it looks like. Each time we'll kind of end with Q&A. But for now, really appreciate you watching. It helps us out a ton. If you feel like, hey, this was super valuable, I want to help out Solved, then feel free to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then solve.cloud is where you can find more information about us and reach out if you have questions. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.